Hello, BookTube. This is an experiment of sorts. My youngest son has decided that he loves my tablet. And he also has decided that the idea of recharging it makes no sense. So he's got me to do it. I wanted to do this video tonight. And it's the Awfully Big Adventure book tag. So I'm doing it on my phone. I used to do all my videos on my phone, but I haven't done that in years. Have no idea how the sound's going to be, the video. We're just going to go for it. So the Awfully Big Adventure book tag is an original one created by Sean D. Standfast. It's part of his August of Adventures project. And it's with, here, let me make sure I do this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions, and then number 6 is just tagging people. So Book Time with Elvis and him are doing this big project. I'm going to do a little bit with them, but not that they're doing the project. I'm going to do the first book they're reading. I'm going to read also. I may try to keep up with them. I'm not very successful at that lately on any of these projects. So but I'm going to read one of the books with them in the beginning. So I'd seen a few people's version of this tag. I'm over here messing with this computer because that's where Sean is. And like I say, this is not the way I'm used to doing it. And you probably see I'm sweating like mad out here on the porch. This is my little room off the porch where I keep some of my books. I do have a dehumidifier, so the books are safe. It's really warm here, but it's warmer where Sean D. Standfast is, and it's a heck of a lot warmer where a lot of you are. We've been watching in the news here about Portugal and Spain and France and, Great Britain. So the heat seems to be a real issue. And heat is dangerous. In Vermont, traditionally, we don't get that warm. Right now, it's I can't tell because I would have to look at my phone, and it's pretty warm in here. I'm sweating it a little bit, but like I say, nothing like those folks are. So be safe. So the first question is: do you like your adventure stories fictional or real life? Why? I love both, but I do tend to prefer real life. But I gobble up the fictional stuff too. I was greatly influenced as a young man by adventure stories of exploration, narratives of explorers and sailors and all these folks, and it influenced me enough to go into the maritime world myself for a while, and to study archaeology after that. So adventure to me is always right. Somebody else's hardship makes the best story, and you don't want to go through too much hardship. But I've had a few adventures myself, but as an armchair traveler, explorer, sailor in my older age, I prefer the nonfiction. That being said, I read awful lot of, especially maritime fiction, but I read a lot of war fiction, aviation stuff, Great Escapes, that sort of stuff, thrillers that have adventure, fantasy that have adventure can be an element or it can be the dominant theme. So I love adventure stories, and I love the old ones, and I love the new ones. Number 2, if you could follow in the footsteps of any explorer, who would that be and why? So for that, I actually brought out a book, and I found out about this guy, Mark Orlstein. He lived from 1862 to 1943. This is his book on Alexander's Tract to the Indus. He was an incredible explorer. He was a Hungarian archaeologist who spent much of his life in the service of the British Empire in India. In the early years of the 20th century, he conducted a series of important Central Asian expeditions traversing virtually the whole of the northwest frontier, territory not previously accessible to Europeans. On Alexander's track to the Indus, first published in 1929, is Orlstein's account of the expeditions he mounted following in the footsteps of Alexander the Great during the triumphant invasion that, interestingly, left not a trace in Indian literature or tradition. Stein's account has justifiably achieved cult status. This guy was amazing adventurer, and found stuff that had to do with Buddhist tradition, all the Indian stuff, up into, they found vast libraries of manuscripts, and just an amazing person. It's a part of the world I've never been to, and I'd love to go to it. So, Mark Orlstein, there he is, and early 20th century, late 19th century fellow. But another place I'd like to go, I'm reading this now, and I know not everybody's thrilled with this book. So far, it's wonderful. And this is The Last Place on Earth, Scott and Amundsen's Race to the South Pole. Had an introduction by Paul Thoreau. John Krakauer is the series editor. And this is by Roland Huntford. Now, I know there's some Brits who really despise this book. So far, to me, it's good. And it's about that race, obviously. And Scott doesn't come out so good, but a lot of folks don't. But I had a chance when I visited Norway to visit Nansen's ship, the Fram, and Nansen was like a mentor to Amundsen. So let's leave it at that much. So, anywho, so either of those, Mark Orlstein, Amundsen, Nansen, any of those folks, I'd love to. And I've been fairly north in the North Atlantic, but I have not been to the Arctic, and I would love to. So, moving right along. What was the most romantic? And or weirdest, I've been to a lot of weird places. Place you have read a book. What was that book? Oh, let me see. So, romantic for me, I read John Lloyd Stevens' Incidents of Travel in the Yucatan. I read that while I was in Yucatan. I have a huge interest in that part of the world. What else? I read Pushkin while I was in Russia. And while I was in Moldavia, and Pushkin was exiled to Moldavia for a while. I've read, trying to think, I read an awful lot of the early explorers and anthropologists in the southwest of the United States when I lived down there, and visit places like Chaco Canyon, Mesa Verde, all these wonderful places. So many places. So I would say, though, probably the John Lloyd Stevens. Let's see. If money was no object, what rare or signed adventure book, fiction or nonfiction, would you purchase? Now, anything by Tim Severin, the legendary writer and explorer, and I think of him as experimental archaeologist, right? Tim Severin was just the Brendan Voyage had a huge impact on me when I was younger. Wonderful book. I think it's still in print. Worth a read, as are any of his books. I'd love that. But, we mentioned earlier Nansen. And I can get the exact title here because I've actually interlibrary loaned a copy once ages and ages ago. So they got to have a bibliography here because I looked at it already. Here we go. And it is called In Northern Myths by Fridtjof Nansen. Give me that one. I'd be excited. Now, if he could look in the future and describe it to me personally, that would make it worthless because nobody'd believe it. Okay. What place have you read about but never visited? Name a few of your favorite titles. Well, I just did Nansen, right? I've never been to the North Pole or Greenland or Iceland. I'd love to visit all those places. I've never been to Africa. There's lots of explorers there. Polynesia. I mean, I think of, well, in Oslo, I didn't only visit the Fram, I visited the Kon-Tiki Museum, Thor Heyerdahl. That book was around forever. I wouldn't mind a signed copy of that either. Boy, think about it. Yeah, John Lloyd Stevens through Mesoamerica, but also he did travels in Russia and Greece. He did them in Egypt. I've got a lot of reprints of those books. Any of the archaeology stuff, which I consider adventure. So more places I never visited. I mentioned that I'm reading a lot of these. Somebody gave me a pile of these archaeology magazines. They gave me other ones too. They gave me British archaeology. I love that sort of thing. They did give me a pile of these though, which sort of are adventure related. I haven't gone through them. I don't want to be a looter, but it might be fun. I mean, I might learn things from it, and maybe the people here aren't. How to identify ancient coins, page 6. So I love all that stuff, and as you can see there, you can only see a small part of that shelf, but that's all maritime stuff. Over here, a lot of maritime fiction. So yeah, I just love the adventure stuff, and it's great fun. So tag some fellow adventurers. So I know I would tag Ernestly Eston, who I haven't tagged in ages. Great booktuber and a person who has traveled quite a bit. Let me think. I think a lot of people have been Brandy at Book Eclectic. Trying to think. So many people. So many of you have left. So I just can't keep track of everything. But yeah, I'll do that. There's a couple I've done okay. Everyone who reads it must converse. He may have done it already. I don't know, but I'll tag Noah, and then let's see who else. Come on, help me out here. I know Jason's been tagged. Yeah, I think that's it because I'm drawing a blank. That's what happens. I get frazzled when the equipment gets weird, and so we'll see. My wife can sit here and try to, splice this all together. It's a wonderful tag. I love adventure books. Well, I think a lot of people love adventure books. I'm not unique in that. So those of you who have asked, the puppy is doing well. I got a German Shepherd we named Dixon, and we took him to the vet today, and a couple weeks ago he weighed 12 pounds, and now that he's 11 weeks old, he weighs 24 pounds. So he's been eating a bit. So, and everybody else is doing well. So, our friends in Europe, be careful of the heat. Our friends everywhere, thank you very much, and thank you, BookTube.